Welcome in to BKL Nightly. Happy Thursday. We got, 3 games before the Bills get ready for the playoffs. I'm Rachel Liebert. Caleb Carr is joining me today. No Thad Brown for now, but he will be later in the show. We got everything you need to know ahead of this wildcard weekend matchup against the Jags. Jags are 13-4. Bills are 12-5. Should be a good one down in Jacksonville. We got to start like we always do with our injury updates of the day. Got quite a few. Really no updates, though. Kind of all the same from yesterday, except there is a pretty significant one we'll get to just in a few seconds here. Starting with Josh Allen. He's full. He's good to go with that foot injury he's been dealing with. Cole Bishop added to the report this week. He's also full, though. Joey Bosa, good sign for him. With that hamstring injury, full go today. Cam Lewis, full. Matt Milano is back from an illness. He didn't practice yesterday. And the best news for Bills fans, Matt Prater is full today. Did not practice yesterday. He re-aggravated that quad injury against the Jets on Sunday, but it seems he's trending upward. The Bills did sign a kicker to the practice squad, but it seems like he will be good to go for Sunday. And DeMar Hamlin, his practice window was open off of IR yesterday. He was limited today as well. And a few more limited guys. We got Daquan Jones, Dalton Kincaid, who's been limited for what feels like forever. We've got Jordan Poyer. He's also limited. Did not practice last week, though, so that's a good sign for him. Shaq Thompson limited. And then the DNPs today, where it's Rob Bernard, Ty Johnson, and Josh Palmer. So quite the extensive list there. But Caleb, what are your thoughts on Matt Prater being full go today? Seems like it is a good sign for the Bills kickers in this postseason.
Definitely a step in the right direction. You know, I think it's only Thursday, so I don't know if we're 100% in the clear yet. Like I said, definitely a good sign that he will play on Sunday, but we saw him what we thought was a full go and ready to go last weekend, and then he re-aggravated it while out there against the Jets. So, you know, there's definitely a concern that although he was a full participant, it might still be kind of a lingering injury, and we'll have to kind of see how it goes the next few days. But if he is, it would be a big positive if he was out there, because we've kind of seen the rotating door of kickers that's come through Buffalo so far this year, and Matt Prater's pretty much been the only one that's been consistent enough, at least enough for Bills fans and their liking. But so at least a step in the right direction. Yeah,
Matt Prater yesterday too said he feels confident that he'll be ready. I mean, I feel like all of them are probably going to say that when it comes to what they tell the media, but it does seem like he wants to play. He did say his age is kind of slowing him down a little bit, and he's irritated with that. But otherwise, I think him being listed as full today is a good sign for the Bills, who definitely should want a kicker, especially in this Jags game that could potentially come down to a game-winning field goal. All right, so the Bills going into this playoff have made 7 straight playoff appearances. That's the longest active streak.
Yeah, I believe the Eagles are second.
Okay, So the Bills are used to the playoffs. They have been there before. Josh Allen has been there before. And today they kind of just talked about what that playoff experience is like, if that's an advantage, and what they've learned over the years and the lessons that they've taken away from being in these situations so many times before.
I'm definitely not as freaked out as I was when I was a rookie, that's for sure, especially walking into Kansas City. That's the craziest playoff game I've ever been a part of. But not all of them are going to be like that, but just play your game and don't make it bigger than it is.
This doesn't happen everywhere. It's really hard to make the playoffs, and a lot of guys, veterans included, haven't even made the playoffs before. So we want to tell the rookies and let them know how big of a deal it is to make the playoffs, and just how you have to prepare as it's any other game. You don't want to make it too big.
Having that big picture perspective kind of helps shift your mind, shift your focus, and realize you don't have to go out there and do anything spectacular or do anything better than you've already done it.
Once you start doing different things and getting out of your routine, then it's you're thinking too much, and it's if something goes wrong, it's maybe I shouldn't have changed that or changed this. So you don't want to second guess yourself. The season's been going on for 20 plus weeks, so I feel like we all got routines by now, and we kind of just got to stick to them.
Having guys that have been around the playoffs regularly on a team, I think it does pay dividends. But again, just trusting the veteran leadership, trusting our guys to convey the message to some of the younger guys and guys that are newer to this program. And again, it just whatever we can do to make one more play and score one more point than our opponent, and that's our goal.
Don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. I think that's something that's really important. So falling back to that training that we've already put in, that preparation gives you confidence. So just harp on that, and we're not going to be scared to mess up or scared to lose, because that can really weigh you down. That puts a negative effect in your brain, and that'll have a negative effect on how you play.
So here's my thing. I think experience helps in any situation and honestly, like any aspect of life. I don't know if experience in this AFC field is going to make that big of a difference, just because we talked about this a few days ago. This is such a weird playoff picture. You know, there's teams that we didn't expect to be as good as they are, obviously. And I think experience is going to help, as it does in any situation. But I also think that other factors are going to be more important than just Josh Allen being here seven years in a row.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I do also think that because of how weird the AFC picture is this year, the Bills by far have the most experience as a team than any, and it's by such a wide margin that I think at that point it has to matter a little bit. I think the two teams that are probably close to them are the Steelers and the Texans. The Steelers because Mike Tomlin is just, he always does just enough to get in. And then you've also got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, who, although he's old and he's not playing at his prime, he's probably the most experienced quarterback in the NFL right now, not only AFC. And then the Texans, you know, CJ Stroud and just that entire team, they've gone to it a couple times. They're definitely not as much as Allen and Sean McDermott and the Bills have. But you look at the Jags, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Chargers. These are all teams that are like franchises that are used to the playoffs, but not quarterbacks.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, like you said, nothing really compares at all to Trevor Lawrence as far as Josh Allen goes. And although they don't have the experience, they do have some offensive weapons, as in Trevor Lawrence and and they have their defensive weapons too. I mean, the big thing we've talked about is their defense just being kind of their rushing defense, I guess.
Yeah.
And specifically with James Cook on the other side, being their big thing. But today, Thad Brown was in Orchard Park and talked to the Bills about the offense threat, as I said, Trevor Lawrence being who that is. So here's how the Bills kind of plan to maybe stop him or at least slow him down a little bit come Sunday.
Trevor Lawrence might be the hottest quarterback heading into the playoffs. He's got 19 touchdowns, only 1 interception in his last 6 games, and his Jags have won 8 in a row. This will be the 3rd year in a row and the 4th time overall Buffalo will face the former first overall pick. And this Bills team does see a player who's a little bit different.
He has a little bit more control, especially what he's looking at. I feel like he possibly could get 2 calls before, you know, that 15-second mark. And if he sees something, he's checking to another play. So I guess that gives him a little bit ability to, you know, change up plays.
He has pretty much everything. You know what I mean? He can make the throws. He can run around. They're in a really good rhythm right now. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty much the case.
He's been, you know, in command of what they do and knows where to go with the ball, and certainly can extend plays with his athleticism and his legs and his play strength. You see him, you know, you watch him against some really good teams, and he's giving them fits.
You got to be aware of the opponent, like cognizant of it, but you can't let it hijack what you're doing in your process. So, I mean, we're aware of it. We played a lot of quarterbacks to move around. I feel like most of them these days do. Move around a lot and can scramble. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, he can make plays with his legs, so we're going to have to be locked in on that and everything else.
The Bills have been to a lot of playoff games, and they've talked all week about how this will be treated like just another game, just another week. But Cam Lewis admitted that if you're not excited about the playoffs, you probably shouldn't be playing football. And he explained why, saying, quote, "You're not just playing for yourself or for the organization. You're playing for the whole city."
It is now time for our BKL Nightly Roundtable segment. We've got Thad Brown out in Orchard Park, Caleb Carr here, of course, and we're going to get right into this first question here. How much pressure is there on the Bills with no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson? Basically, the question has been all over Bills social media. So, Caleb, I'll start with you. How much pressure do you think is on the Bills for this postseason?
I think from our point of view and from a fan's point of view, there's quite a bit. You know, like you said, no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow. Those are the big names that have seemed to always, especially Patrick Mahomes, always come in the way of Josh Allen and the Bills. So from like an outside perspective, I think there's a lot of pressure to that sense, because if they don't get it done, that's going to be what everyone says is, you know, if they can't get it done with Mahomes in the not in the playoffs, then when are they going to be able to get it done? But I think within the building, I don't think they have a ton of pressure, because honestly, this group of defenses in the AFC right now are probably some of the toughest that they've seen in the past few seasons. So I think from that point of view, at least for Josh Allen and the offense, there's not a ton of pressure, because, I mean, if you don't get it done, it's probably because Houston beat you, and Houston's a really, really good defense and a really good team, even though they don't have Patrick Mahomes running the show.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Patrick Mahomes is the number one thing that Bills fans are kind of saying here is there's no Mahomes, there's no Chiefs. So that's, the postseason run that the Bills should be making. But there is none of those quarterbacks, but there's a Drake May who's playing really well. There's a Trevor Lawrence who is playing well and hasn't, played this well in the last 5 years of him being in the league. There's even a Bo Nix. I mean, we've talked about him not being a huge threat as individually, but still these teams are huge threats. So even without those teams, I don't think there's maybe pressure, but I think there's pressure anyway. I mean, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. I think there's pressure in any form, but I do think the defense is a great point too. Maybe that's where more of that pressure is coming from. Thad, what are your thoughts on, there's no Patrick Mahomes in this one. Do you think there's less pressure, more pressure on the Bills to go all the way?
Rachel, I'm right with you on the whole idea there's pressure all the time. That's where I land on this. I don't think it's any different that Mahomes or any of the other big quarterbacks are not in this postseason. This team has enough internal pressure with all the years of fans telling them, you got to cash in a Josh Allen year at some point. You can't waste his prime without getting a championship. To be honest, I don't care who the opponents could be. It could be the Chiefs, it could be Syracuse and Monroe High School, and it would still be a ton of pressure for the Bills to try and figure out a way to win a championship. I think where it's different this year is maybe how it might feel if the Bills don't get it done. Because in other years, especially when it was a Mahomes Super Bowl year, you're just like, this is what the guy does. But this year, let's say that the AFC Championship is New England, Denver. The idea of spending that whole week thinking that either Bo Nix or Drake May is going to go to a Super Bowl before Josh Allen, that would bother a lot of people, certainly in Western New York, and I think even in this organization. But when it comes to how the Bills approach the playoffs, what they're feeling this week, there's a lot of pressure. I think more than what Jacksonville feels this week, even though they're the home team, but it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that there aren't the usual suspects in this postseason.
All right, we've got our second roundtable question here. Is there an injury situation that worries you outside of Matt Prater, the Bills kicker? Thad, I'll start with you with this one. What kind of worries you looking at this injury report today and looking ahead to the rest of the week?
I want to say Ty Johnson because of the guys who are not practicing this week, and we're talking about Josh Palmer and Terrell Bernard and Max Hairston. Ty Johnson is the one who I think would lose the most in terms of what he contributes to this team. He is such an important glue guy. Good blocker, good with pass protection, runs pretty good routes, excellent receiver, tough runner. There's a lot of things that he brings to the table. But I will say that even if he doesn't play, I think Ray Davis could probably adequately fill in a lot of those roles. Now, it wouldn't be the same, and you're asking Ray Davis now to be the kick returner and do this, where you could kind of take your running backs and say, all right, James Cook, you're the bell cow, the guy we're going to give the ball to all the time. Ty Johnson, you're the third down guy, and Ray Davis, you're the return man. So from the point of view of what is lost, I think Ty Johnson's at the top of the list for me, but I do think Ray Davis in a lot of ways can be an adequate replacement.
For me, the injury situation, I'm going to stick with the offense here. I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid. I know he's limited today, and I know he did obviously play last week, but just him not being fully healthy, and we've talked about a million times before, we probably won't see a full healthy version of Dalton Kincaid for the rest of this season. But just knowing this Jacksonville defense and them being a good rushing defense, the best in the league, and not having that asset maybe potentially in Kincaid in his full go, I think that might be the biggest worry for me. Even if he's limited and he is active on Sunday, I think him not being the full Kincaid that potentially he could be kind of detrimental to what the Bills can do in the postseason. So, Caleb, what are you? Are you also offense? Or are you going defense with this? What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go defense. I was thinking Joshua Palmer for a second there, but he hasn't really contributed a whole ton this season. So instead, I went towards Shaq Thompson. I know he's kind of had a rough couple games. Matt Milano has kind of stepped up as the lead linebacker these last few weeks. But what he was able to do, at least earlier in the season, was huge. And just to have him out there, he's an older guy. He knows what it takes to win games. I think him and Matt Milano, if they are both out there, both healthy and both playing at a high level, it could be really dangerous.
All right, we've got our final question here. Give me the X factor no one is talking about. Caleb, I'll let you go first. Who's the X factor in this one that maybe no one is talking about on social media? There's a few. You can go this way.
So we talk about him quite a bit, or at least we have talked about him quite a bit, but I haven't really seen him on social media or, in the media in general too much. Christian Benford, he's kind of cemented himself as one of the top cornerbacks, at least on this team. So he's not really, and he's stayed pretty healthy. So there hasn't really been a ton of reasons to talk about him too much. And this Jacksonville offense, they're not known for their pass game. They don't have a 1,000-yard receiver, but between Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr., they have two pretty good weapons, and the two of them have had their ups and downs. I know Thomas Jr. was kind of iffy in the beginning of the season, but those are still two really good weapons in the receiving core. And I think Christian Benford is going to have to show that he can lock them down if the Bills want a chance to win.
For me, the X factor that maybe people are talking about, but I'm going to go Khalil Shakir. Kind of going back to what I said about this Jags rushing defense being really good. If they can shut down James Cook, and, you know, we haven't really seen a fully shut down version of James Cook this year and what the offense looks like if James Cook is completely out of the picture. I think Khalil Shakir is the most consistent target, especially too talking if Kincaid is in his full, you know, healthy go. So for me, it's going to be Shakir. I think we need to see some movement in the passing game. There's got to be something from Josh Allen in order for the Bills to win this one. And I just think Shakir might be the X factor. Maybe not the long passes, the long catches, but I think for him to have consistent, you know, receptions, maybe being the leading receiver in this one, I think that might be the X factor. Thad, what do you think?
I actually got two. I'm going to got a player and kind of a thing. The player for me is Joey Bosa, and I feel like we should just be talking about this more. Maybe people are talking about it, but I think the Bills have to find a way to get pressure on Trevor Lawrence in this game, and they're not going to be able to just sit back and play their normal zone defense and just win with coverage. This is the game you bring Joey Bosa in for. This is why you pay that guy all that money, is to come up with one or two plays. And he's already done it this year. The Pittsburgh sack fumble that led to a touchdown, that's the kind of thing I think the Bills might need in this game. They might have to win the turnover battle, and Bosa, to me, is idea number one to make that happen. The other thing, penalties. Jacksonville has the best, how should I say this? The Jaguars have the second most penalties in their games of anyone in the league. They're third in committing the most penalties and fifth in drawing the most penalties. Bottom line, they're going to be flags everywhere in this game. Catching the better side of that, getting some breaks with the refs, I think is going to go a long way towards deciding this one.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our roundtable segment. Maybe we'll do one next week. We'll see if the Bills get the win on Sunday. But, of course, thank you, Thad, for joining us out in Orchard Park. Welcome back into BKL Nightly. We're celebrating over here because we just feel really optimistic about this game this weekend.
Do we?
I mean, predictions-wise, maybe. We have to kind of take a dive into our predictions. But like we do every Thursday, we have our predictions of every game. That's what predictions are. And we're going to let Thad go first because Thad sent us his prediction from Orchard Park. So I'll just let Thad, explain what he thinks is going to happen in this game. Here we go.
Good chance this is going to be a super fun game, and one of the best parts of it for me is that on both sides of the ball, you've got good on good. When Buffalo has it, it's one of the top rush offenses in the NFL against what's probably the number one rush defense in the NFL. Now, last year in the playoffs, the Bills faced the number 1 and 2 rush defenses in Denver and Baltimore, and in both cases, Buffalo ran for more yards against those teams than they had allowed to anyone else all year. I know it's a different season, different defense, but I feel like this Bills rush offense with the current pieces that are still mostly the same will have some success. On the flip side, when Jacksonville has it, their pass offense is ridiculous right now. And I know the Bills are pretty good in the secondary and in coverage, but I think Jacksonville will be able to get some things done on offense through the air. I think the winning team in this game for sure has 30 points. Keep an eye out when the Bills have the ball for Dalton Kincaid. Jacksonville is one of the worst teams in the league against tight ends. To me, the little things matter a lot in the playoffs, and the Bills have the advantage in a lot of the little things. Experience for sure, but Jacksonville is highly penalized. Jacksonville's not very good in the red zone. The Jaguars have relied on turnovers this year. The Bills still have a defense that can force turnovers. I think all those little things might add up. I know Jacksonville is a team that's dangerous and they're very hot, but I think Buffalo finds a way to get this one done. Give me the Bills 31-27.
All right, Thad thinks is going to be a high-scoring one, 31-27, and I agree with him. And Caleb and I kind of talked about this a little bit before. My prediction is actually basically the exact same as Thad's. Mine is 31-28. So, I mean, basically exactly what Thad said. I think top rushing offense, top rushing defense against each other. I do think, and I know I said the experience might not matter, but now I'm going back. Maybe the Bills' experience is going to matter. I don't know. I feel like they're going to go on the road. Josh Allen did some self-scouting this week. He said that he looked back and realized all of the mistakes he made during the regular season. I feel like we might see a new and improved Bills offense. I'm not too optimistic, passing wise, receiving wise, considering there's really been no receiving game all year. But I am optimistic that I think James Cook is going to do enough to help this Bills offense get going. And I think the Jags, their offense is okay. I mean, it's good. It's rolling. But I think the Bills will outplay them, and I do think it's going to be high scoring. So 31-28 is my prediction. Caleb, what's your prediction?
I'm going a little bit different than you guys. And I feel like every time I do this, every time I pick like a low scoring, when you guys pick high, it ends up being high. But I'm going to go 23-20. I am going to pick the Bills to win. But this one, I think this one's going to feel like a battle. Like this is going to be one of those that just you come out of this one and it's going to be, wow, thank God we came, we got the job done. That's all that matters, is you got the job done. There's going to be mistakes on both sides. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. I think the Jaguars defense is really good. And
Are you seeing another James Cook fumble?
I don't know about a James Cook fumble, but I'm definitely seeing a Josh Allen interception.
Okay.
But I'm also seeing the Bills defense get some turnovers. Maybe a Travis Etienne fumble, maybe a Trevor Lawrence fumble, something like that. I think it's going to be one of those grinded out. I agree with Thad in the sense that the Bills will be able to get some run game going. Like I don't think the Jaguars defense will completely shut down James Cook. Will James Cook go off for 200 yards? No, I don't think so. But I don't think this is going to be like a James Cook 30-yard rushing day. Like you said, I'm not very optimistic on the passing offense, but I think the Bills defense will do enough to kind of limit what the Jags do. And then Josh Allen will throw the cape on for one final drive and be able to figure it out. And that's where the kicker is that everyone everyone forgets that Josh Allen is on this Bills team. Well, no one really forgets it, but we don't let them. I don't let them forget him. I don't let them forget him. But I think Josh Allen will put the cape on when he needs to. But this is going to be a grinded out defensive battle that I have, like I said, 23-20.
Well, that's the other thing. We talk about kickers. The Jags kicker, Cam Little, nailed a 67-yarder last week, a 68-yarder earlier in the season, a 70-yarder in the preseason, which are the two, the regular season ones, the two and longest in NFL history. Yeah. So yesterday when on BKL we were talking, one of their questions in our mailbag segment was someone was saying, you can't let the Jags get past the 50. No. And that's a serious thought. If this kicker can kick a 67-yarder, it's no big deal. That is a serious threat.
You talk about the Jaguars offense, and I'm right there with you that they're not the most explosive. They're definitely not the best offense in the league. Have they been rolling lately? Yes. Trevor Lawrence is playing at a high level. Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, the receivers, they're starting to play well. Trevor Etienne, the running back, he looks decent. The offensive line is playing well. But even if the offense wasn't clicking, like you said, they only have to get to the 50-yard line. It doesn't matter how good. It doesn't matter how good you could have the New York Jets offense out there, and they would still put up some points because Cam Little is able to do that. And then on top of that, you put in the fact that this Jaguars defense is very good, and they have a chance to push the Bills offense back, maybe force a punt. And now all of a sudden, the Jaguars are starting their drive from the 50. All you need is one first down, and Cam Little's hitting it. So I think there's going to be some field goals in this game. Cam Little's definitely going to hit some, and that's a factor for sure.
And that's why I think that's why I lean more on the winner. Of agreeing with that the winner is going to have 30 plus, because I just think this is going to be a shootout. But I think it's just going to go back and forth, and I think Josh Allen's going to put on the cape, and I think he's going to come out with the win in the end. And James Cook, what do you think if you had to put a prediction on James Cook rushing yards? What are you thinking?
73.
That's I thought you'd go lower.
73. No, I do think that he's going to have some success, especially early on. I think they'll find some early success, which isn't something that the Bills are used to this year. I'm not saying that the offense as a whole will have early success, but I do think that James Cook will have a couple big runs in there. I say 73. Two to three of those are 20-yard runs. I think when he gets out, he'll take advantage of it. I think the Jaguars are just going to do a really good job of limiting how often he gets out.
Yeah, I don't think this will be. We've been kind of talking about when will the Bills play a complete game. I'm not sure they will play a complete game against Jacksonville. I don't know if they will for the rest of the season. That's kind of just who the Bills are. But like I said, I think it'll be a shootout. I think it'll be fun, and I think the Bills are going to come out top. So, like I said, we're all optimistic because we all chose the Bills.
Yes, but It's tough to. It was tough to choose the Bills. I
This
will be
one was
honest.
tough, this one.
It was
and I've
very
chosen the
hard
Bills
to
every
choose the
single
Bills.
week, and I was like,
You have.
This might,
You have.
and that's why I'm 12-5, and that's why I'm winning. So thanks,
Whatever.
just for the reminder. I had to let everybody know that I am at the top of this.
We can move on.
We can move on.
I think we're running
right
out of time.
We actually are out of time. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us on this Thursday. You guys will be back on Sunday to break down what went down. So maybe
Hopefully good
things,
stuff,
bad
but we'll
things,
see.
We'll see. It'll be Caleb and Thad back here on Sunday. But thank you so much for watching BKL Nightly. For Caleb Carr, I am Rachel Leiber. We will catch you next time.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.